what that was we gave some ideas and they took it and they ran with it. So major thank you to Yonder for the housing and the opportunity, but also the willingness to participate. Because it's an invitation and it's participation that's going to make the difference. So I'm going to invite you to do something. Oh, by the way, we're doing live on TikTok. And classically, when we do TikToks, the people at Soltis Place, which is the new name of Francis
Florence
Soltis Adult Day Health Program, which was a lot. So we wanted to honor Florence. Florence Ray Soltis. We wanted to keep the honor because she helped set the whole thing up. So we went with Soltis Place, where friends connect. Because that's what we think we help people do, is connect. So on TikTok, we typically have about how many folks joining us, Amanda?
Right now we have 959 people.
959 people aren't here, but they're here. And that's a good number. By the end of many programs, we have something like 15,000 people watching and listening and paying attention to what we're doing. Because it turns out there are a lot of people in this world who are trying to figure out, how do you do this and how do you do it well? And we have what we call option 1, option 2. Option 1 is what people typically do, and option 2 is another option that might be a little bit better. So tonight, we're just gonna try a few things to see what y'all know about brain fitness and brain health. And if you get it right, you get something free.
Woo!
Okay, so we're paying for what you know. Okay, so here's how we're gonna start off. Tell me at least one thing that gives you a higher or lower risk factor that there's absolutely nothing you can do about. One of 3 things that you could have in you that gives you a high risk or a low risk. So what's one thing that you could have true about you? Genetic code.
Christine,
yes.
Can you give the lady a nice free gift?
Christine, you give her a free gift.
They're right back there.
So genetics, you can't fix genetics. And genetic coding is something that increases your risk or lowers your risk. So there are certain ones like APOE. That's a certain gene code. You can have a 4 or a 2 or a 3. Do this. You don't want 4. If you have 4s, your risk goes up. On the other hand, if you have 2s, go like this. Yay! You know, you won't survive if we have an event like a starvation episode where there is no food. You won't live long. But you're going to do great when it comes to a dementia.
Hey.
Just so you know. Okay? Second one. What's the second thing you can't do a thing about, or if you do something, if you get older, if you're getting older, your risk goes up.
Give the lady a prize.
Yes.
Age.
But if you're not aging, well, you certainly don't have to worry about brain fitness anymore because you're dead. Those are your 2 options. You either age or you die. Those are the 2 choices. Okay, there's a third option. A third thing that you really can't do anything about. Do this. I'll give it to you. What else has happened before in your life? You can't go back and fix stuff. So if things have happened in the past, do this.
Mistakes.
Let it go, because there's nothing you can do about it
Mistake.
once it's over with. And that includes things that might have happened to parents or grandparents. So the reality is those are things we can't fix. So what can you do about that? Quit worrying about it. Because it is what it is. Now let's talk about 5 things you can do. Okay, 5 areas where you can choose to do something that reduces risk or improves quality of life.
Exercise.
Exercise. What kind? Don't give it to her yet. She has to work a little harder. Who said aerobic? Okay, she actually gets the gift because I'm so sorry. I gave you a chance. Aerobic exercise is the #1 thing. And something, now she has to get a gift too because walking is one of those things. But what is the best aerobic exercise that has been evidence-based?
Swimming.
No.
Smiling.
Smiling. No, you're not allowed, Katie. Sex. No, but it's on up there. It's up there, but it can cause hyper excitation, and that's a little risky. We don't want to go too high too quick. What do you got? Oh, no, you can't do it either. You two can't do it, neither can Beth, but they're demonstrating if you want to look.
He got it.
They're doing it not accurately. You have to do it with A partner. Dancing with a partner is the #1 aerobic exercise that is good for your brain. It is the #1 aerobic exercise. Now, I want you to talk among yourselves for a second. Why is dancing with a partner the #1? What goes into dancing with a partner? Talk with each other.
You have to communicate.
What is it?
You have to focus.
When you are dancing with a partner, you are having to engage them with your thinking brain. Put your hand on the front of your head. Your thinking brain. Do this. Your auditory processing brain. Those are your temporal lobes. I know you think you're just patting your cheek. No, those are your temporal lobes. Now do this. Sensory motor. Up here, but do this back down here and go, oh yeah. Your cerebellum, which is your little brain, which is your automatic movement brain. And then do this. Occipital. Your visual brain.
And somebody on TikTok said socialization.
Oh, and so you're doing this social thing because you're touching each other really close, but guess what? Keep it clean. And so you're mirroring each other. That ends up over here. We aren't going back to the sex. That's just too much. So what's happening is we're moving this back and forth. We're doing a lot of rotational movements frequently. We're also doing rotational movements like this. Weight shifts, we're moving to rhythm. We're also doing 1, 2, 3, 4. And all of those kind of things are very, very engaging, causing huge synaptic connections to happen. And afterwards, people have been shown to talk and appreciate conversation better for a short window of time.
Let's see the moves, Teepa.
All right, here we go. Conversation better for a short window of time.
Let's see the moves, Teepa.
All right, here we go.
Oh, get it.
Yeah, as long as she doesn't have to remember like electric slide where you have to go left, right, because I have no ability to do that. I have other skills, that's not one. So we know dancing with a partner, huge, huge. Okay, so exercise, dancing with a partner, aerobic exercise. You got that category. What else?
Diet.
What?
Diet.
Diet, yes, diet and fluids. So tell me what the diet should be. Mediterranean is the one that we recognize, but give me some different.
Berries.
Fresh. Fresh is what we're talking about. Fresh vegetables and fruits.
Lean protein.
Grains that are
Low fat.
whole grains and lean protein and deep sea fish if it's not got too much mercury in it, or lean meat. But take the palm of your hand. Look at the palm of your hand, not the fingers, just the palm. That much protein is all you need as an adult in a day. Look at it and go, well, crap. Because guess how much we think? Okay, do this with your hand and then measure off the top. That is a serving size. Okay, do this. This is what we think a serving size is. So our tricky part is do this. It's not just Mediterranean, do this. It's limiting serving size, moderation. It's really looking at the serving size. And do this. You want to eat more to be the best. You want to reduce your risk the most. Eat more early in the day and then eat a lot less in the evening. Now turn to the person next to you and say, well, that doesn't work for me.
It does not work for me.
And recognize what I'm saying is it reduces the risk. I didn't say you had to do it, but if you want to optimize risk reduction, we got to start owning, we got to make some shifts. So we're looking at more plant-based, less meat-based. We're looking at more fresh, raw, and putting it earlier in the day. So, okay, here's a question. For men and women, who has the higher risk that being overweight will increase your risk of getting dementia? Males or females? What do you think? Wrong. Women, who said it first? Oh, you do. Okay, so she gets a prize. Women are double the risk if they are overweight. Women's risk for getting dementia goes up twice that of men, just for being overweight.
That's not fair.
It's totally unfair, but it is what it is.
What's overweight?
I know. Overweight is when you are, let's see, it is 20 pounds over what is considered, it's basically 20 pounds over your body weight, your ideal body weight. 20 pounds up.
When you can't walk and have
When
a conversation.
You can't walk and have a conversation at the same time is a good indicator that we've got some issues. All right. Alcohol in and of itself, do this, in moderation, actually can be a brain stimulant and positive, but not when we use it as a crutch or a pain reliever. So if we're using alcohol as a pain reliever, then we got issues. If we're having 1 serving of alcohol for women, 2 servings for men, that actually has been demonstrated for people who do not have risk factors for addiction. That's been demonstrated to reduce the risk of dementia in that population. Yes, sir. How about a person who already has a dementia? This is where we've got to be incredibly careful, because what happens, alcohol, number one, it calms. And so we know that it sedates a little bit, so it feels good because I'm not as anxious. But the problem is, because it is glucose-based, it'll wear off quick. I need a drink. Well, you've already had a drink. No, I didn't. Yes, you did. I did not. So one of our challenges is, how do you keep the limit and how do you keep it low? The other thing to keep in mind is, how much alcohol in a drink are we talking about? So it's one of those things you want to think about, talk about, and work with. It's not a yes and it's not a no. It's just realize there are risks when you're sort of doing it, because it also tends to reduce your impulse control. So I do or say things more likely than I would have, because I've lost that little bit of ability to hold on to that. All right, I'm going to give you, we've got diet, we had exercise. Sleep.
Ooh,
Okay,
give
now
her a
talk
prize.
to somebody who said sleep. Good job. Okay,
Woo!
she gets it back there. But here's the thing. Now talk among yourselves for a second. What's the approximate, accurate amount of sleep? Because it's not just sleep overall. It's how much sleep, and we want to talk about the percent of your sleep that is REM sleep.
Ooh.
Okay, so talk about total number of hours you should be looking at, and how much sleep you REM.
Oops. He's raising his hand.
Okay, what do you got, Brooklyn? Oh, give the boy a prize. It is 6 to 8 hours.
Nice. Yeah.
Good job, Brooklyn. So 6 to 8 hours. And how much of that do you want to be REM? Which REM sleep is deep, deep sleep. It's when you dream, but you cannot move. 2 to 3.
Oh,
2 to
you were
3.
right on. Hey.
2 to 3. What, did you get it?
He did, yeah.
Okay, there he goes. 2 to 3. 2 to 3. Woo-hoo. All right. Okay, so we have sleep. Oh, particularly, we need to worry about if we're waking up early and we're waking up noticing, oh, okay, I'm awake. Woo. So we wake up startled. If we're waking up startled, it means we're shooting up out of deep sleep into arousal. And one of the prime reasons that happens is slight sleep apnea. So what happens is you're not getting quite enough oxygen. And go ahead and do that. When you do that, you suck in a whole bunch of, you wake your epiglottis up and you go, whoa, I need oxygen. And it goes, And you realize how fast your heart is beating because your brain went, we almost ran out of oxygen, you idiot. And it woke you up. We also know that that's a prime time for heart attacks and strokes. So turn to the person next to you. I told you you should get something looked at. Or look in the mirror at yourself and go, crap, maybe I should get that looked at. Here's the other one we want to think about. If you have somebody in your life that's actively giving you the pauses in the snoring, we're at crisis. We really want to look at that because we may want to look at how someone, position of sleep, direction of sleep, whether we want to be back, side, elevated slightly. It's time to get it looked at because what it means is the epiglottal area is so loose when you sleep that it covers your airway completely. And it could be because you're back sleeping. It could be because you're in a certain position. But males, sorry. Did I do that out loud? Males are more at risk than females because you have thicker structures in your throat and you're more at risk. Women have problems. We don't notice them snoring because they don't snore as much. But when they do, and they tend to drool more. Now,
Oh boy.
Now, how many of you turned to your partner and said, yeah, your pillow was wet?
Judgment-free zone. Judgment-free.
Judgment free. All right, so we have sleep, we have exercise, we have diet. Third one.
Alcohol.
No, you already did alcohol. We did alcohol.
Alcohol's not a concern.
Oh, it is a concern. We don't want too much, but absolutely being a teetotaler, a little bit of alcohol is okay, but that's it. You know, that's it. Yeah, no, we're done with that one. That's good.
Activity.
Stress.
What kind of activity? Stress. Oh, okay, I like stress, but change it a little bit. It's not stress. It's not all stress. Some stress is good for you.
Anxiety.
Nah. Distress. When you rate it as distress, and so
Don't
upset,
give the
I don't
guy
know
a
what
prize.
to do. Who was that?
That was Alejandro. He doesn't get a
Alejandro,
prize.
If I'd seen you, I would have called
Know what the
you.
rules were.
So what's called distress. So when you go from being a little stressed, this is stressful, this is hard. Our brains and our bodies are meant to be stressed. If we don't stress our bodies and our brains regularly, it's like a rubber band that we're not exercising. And then when you go to stretch it, guess what? It snaps. So we want to do the stressful thing. It's why we do aerobic exercise. It's why we want to do things that are challenging for us. We got to keep our brain challenged. But the challenge here is distress. Distress is, I'm right on the edge of dysfunction. Oh my God, I can't do this. I don't know if I can do this anymore. How am I supposed to? That sense of I don't know what to do. I don't know how to manage this. This is really getting to the edge of what I can do. That's when we got to go, I need help, because sustained distress is a very, very high risk. Because what it does is dump a lot of cortisol into your system. And cortisol is an incredibly dangerous hormone. And we experience it when we're in distress. We're actively distressed. So we have to stay out of distress, but we can't tolerate stress. It's good. Stress is a little bit good, but we have to know how to come in and go out. We got to have relief. So here's one of the best. Do this.
That's one of the drinks. You should go get a Just Breathe if you haven't yet.
Third time. It's called diaphragmatic breathing. 3 deep diaphragmatic breaths. Drop cortisol level and raise endorphin level. So it's a self-regulation of distress. And if you can get yourself to space it out, do it 5 times a day, overall we see a drop in cortisol in people who are able to do that, and they actually register less distress, higher success rate at what they're doing. And they're moving it down into just stress range. All right? So we had managing distress. Now we had somebody who said activity, and I said, tell me more. Activities that are meaning, but tell me more. Purposeful, valuable, yeah, enjoyable. People, animals.
Productive.
That engage you with other people, animals, children, the environment. In other words, it has to be activities that engage you. So you got to do things that engage you physically, socially, and mentally.
So watching TV is an activity, but it doesn't.
It does not do that because it's not a back and forth. It has to have a back and a forth, a back and a forth, a back and a forth. It has to have the rhythm of the back and the forth. So conversations, what I'm doing with you right now, you're listening, but what am I asking you to do? Respond. Yeah, so it's not passive. It's also things like, ooh, I'm going to come up with, I have a category here, and I'm wondering if you can help me out. We're going to name as many animals that have 4 legs that we can think of. Cat, good. Dog. Bear, deer. What you got? Elephant, good. What else? Zebra, kangaroo. Rhino. Kangaroo. No.
Kangaroo. She calls false on kangaroo.
We got a judge over here calling a kangaroo. T-Mac. It's not, okay, it has 2 arms. She's from Australia. I guess we'll listen to her. Dick doesn't know what he's talking about, but somebody from Aussie land we got to listen to. All right, so what did you find your brain doing as I was repeating the ones some people called out? You were thinking about, and now you're thinking of Australian animals. What did you come up with? Koala bear.
Wombat.
Just a koala. Wallaby.
Good Lord, you cannot win with Australia. Go somewhere else. Go somewhere else.
All right, so I'm pausing. What I want you to recognize is how many of you are still thinking of animals, though? How many of you are still trying to come up with 4-legged animals? Because I put your brain in gear, and now your brain is going to the file cabinet marked animals, looking in the one marked 4-legged, and it's still wanting to pull out data. That's healthy brain. That means I got the synapses going, and your brain is now going, oh, I know more, I know more. So if I were to say, okay, we're looking for cities. Any city you can think of. Okay, now notice, here you go. Now you're going at it. Now we could come up with a third, which could, I know Brooklyn. You got one, right? Brooklyn.
Hey.
His name is Brooklyn. What you going to do? It was a gift. But when we're sitting around, instead of always just watching TV,
We don't do that.
20,
We don't do
top
that.
10. Oh, yeah. How many hours of TV becomes dangerous for your brain?
2.
Do this. 3. More than 3 hours in a row is actually brain risky and body risky.
But how many hours of TikTok is good for
How
you?
many hours of TikTok? Not more than
All of them, 24.
All right. Gary.
What about watching sports, like football, but you're trying to call plays?
No. Okay, so Gary's talking about what if what you're watching is actively engaging you? That counts.
Yay!
That's fine because you're not, what are you not just doing? Passively watching it. Now, here's the thing. No, that was a stupid call.
Oh.
What's that?
Hey. Too close.
Did I say that?
It's too close.
I went to Duke and UNC. I can't say much. I've just got to be neutral. Besides, I have friends. Some from UNC, some from Duke.
Just kidding.
One went to UNC, another one went to Duke. I've taught at both, worked at both, gone to both. Oh, well. All right, so now we're going to open up if anybody has, so those are your 5. We got to 5. Did you get the 5? Talk 5, because 5 is the magic number of memory. When you can hold on to 5 things in a category, 5 to 8, normal memory span. Give it a try, see what you can do. What are your 5?
Exercise, diet,
Distress and interaction.
No. Okay, good question. All right, so what do we got? Let's see if let's do a quick review. Distress, high risk. We want to take distress and turn it into reasonable stress levels with learning things like diaphragmatic breathing, other kinds of activities. Second one. Eating well, diet, and do this. Hydration. Diet, hydration. Hydration matters. It really does matter. What's the highest point in the system? The brain. So when we have blood flow, if we are getting low on blood flow because of hydration issues, guess what gets starved? Your brain. Because that's the high point in the system. Okay, the third was? Exercise. Good. Aerobic exercise. Don't forget the aerobic.
She's got it now. She'll never forget it.
She missed the fly, so she has to get it now. Okay, what was the next one? Sleep. Healthy sleep. What was the last one?
Meaningful activities.
Meaningful activities. Engagement that has value, purpose, and causes you to interact. All right, give yourselves a hand. All right, so Gary, who's one of our nurses at Soltis Place, also a great guy who's willing to do lots of fun and interesting things. He is one of our lead dancers on TikTok, along with George. George is one of our really remarkable dancers. George.
Woo-woo.
Veteran.
Yes.
Who really saluted when we do our strut.
Oh, he did. That's
among
true.
other things. George is willing to try anything once, right, George? Whether you do it a second time, all depends on how the first time went. Cool. So Gary asked me a question. Gary's question is, genetics trumps everything. And does genetics trump everything? And the answer is absolutely not. I said you can't do anything about genetics. But actually getting older is your greatest risk factor. Genetics is only about 25% of risk. Genetics is only about 25% of risk. Not exercising is 50% of risk. So which is more important? Exercising. That's the reality. So genetics is only 25%. We have identical twins, different lifestyles, very different onset of dementia. We can have identical twins, born as identical twins, and one will show signs of dementia, one will have no dementia, although when you look in their brain after they pass, they will have lots of evidence of beta-amyloid plaque and tau pathology, but absolutely no evidence of dementia in their life. So that's the tricky part, is you can have some changes in your brain, some real physiological changes, and it doesn't necessarily affect how you live your life. Because sometimes how you live your life trumps everything about dementia. And other times, dementia is very present in your life, and you got to figure out what you're going to do with it. Because I can't get rid of it, so I'm living with it. What are you going to do? Yeah.
So does drug use, is that a higher risk?
Okay, so people who are actively using drugs, and this could be actually medications that are prescribed, or they're actually using drugs like cocaine or heroin, opioids, those folks are at higher risk for developing brain changes that then move into dementia. Their risk for dementia goes up, and amphetamine use has actually been demonstrated increased risk of dementia, and there's a dementia associated with amphetamines. Yeah, so we want to be thoughtful about those kind of things. Benadryl actually turns off your brain and makes it harder for you to think. And many people get on Benadryl either for allergies, that's one of those risk things, but it's also sleep meds. Tylenol PM to help with pain, but it's a sleep addition. What ends up happening is it dulls your brain. It reduces the amount of acetylcholine, which is a real important brain chemical. It's the one that sends messages to think and to do. And so what happens, you get less acetylcholine because the medication, the thing with Benadryl in it, reduces your acetylcholine. So we got to be careful because you can get those over the counter and they get prescribed without the medication, the thing with Benadryl in it, reduces your acetylcholine. So we got to be careful because you can get those over the counter and they get prescribed without thinking about questions. Yeah.
I just have one.
Yeah.
When you were saying that earlier about the risk, if some
Questions. Yeah.
I just have one.
Yeah.
When you were saying that earlier about the risk, if someone's been diagnosed like with mild cognitive decline, okay, or mild cognitive,
Okay. I'll do the question over once we get done.
So if somebody has been diagnosed with that, if we tell them about the changes that you recommended, that could ward off, because I was
good.
listening on one of your things
Yeah.
that said just because someone has that,
Yeah.
it's not necessarily that it would turn into.
You got it. Okay. So the question is, what we are starting to do now, what some physicians are starting to help us do now, we go in and we say, I think something's going on. Something doesn't feel quite right. And you get a workup, and the person says, well, it looks like what you might have, you do have some mild cognitive decline. We are seeing a little bit of change. It's not affecting your whole life yet, but you were right. Things are starting to look a little different. Let's do the things we're talking about. Let's really make sure we've got aerobic on board. You're looking at your sleep patterns. We're looking at your engagement, what you're doing there. We also look at your diet and your exercise. And we're looking at all those things, and we support you better. The evidence is we can delay onset, and 25% of people will never develop dementia. But what we can find out is we can delay onset by as long as 5 to 8 years. So 5 to 8 years where you just have some minor things, but nothing major. How many of you want that if you could get it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so the thing is, we got to notice it early. Guess what happens in over 80% of cases? We don't notice it even when they're in early state dementia until we get to the middle of the disease, when finally somebody names it for what it is. And because we just hear about it, we think it's early. But in fact, we're in the middle of the disease by then. Because it's no longer invisible. It's so visible. It's so hard because the person is really having to work incredibly hard to do pretty simple things now. And we lost so many opportunities because we kept trying to believe that what we were seeing couldn't possibly be that, when in fact it was exactly that. So being scared of something and trying to avoid something doesn't make it not be there. It just makes it harder for us to support one another effectively and well, and make some changes that could actually buy us significant amounts of time doing the things we love and like with the right support. So the tricky part is, how do we start to shift this narrative? And the answer is, we've got to start here.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Yeah,
we've got
tonight.
to start by people being curious about dementia, not being scared of dementia, by being willing to step out and say, hey, I'm Teepa, and you are... Yeah. George, it is so nice to meet you. I love you being here tonight. You are one of the best. Oh, you know what? Hey, Brooklyn. Man, would you come up for just a second? Will you come up with me for just a second?
Yeah, Brooklyn. Woo-woo.
Brooklyn. Man, you are a super cool kid. Turn around that way. Look at all these people. Is that a lot of people? Hey, listen, could you help me do something? Would you be willing to try? Yeah, let me show you what I'm going to ask you to do. I'm going to do A, and you're going to do the next letter. Do you know those ABCs? Okay, so I'm going to start with A,
B,
C,
D,
E,
F,
G,
H,
I,
J,
K,
L,
M,
N,
O,
P,
Q,
R,
S,
T,
U,
V,
W,
X,
Y,
Z.
Here's the question. Can you do it in reverse? Ooh. Are you willing to try? Okay. So you start it this time.
Z,
Y, X, good. W. Oh, I did it wrong, huh?
W.
Oh, I was supposed to say V, huh? Is that okay? So if I say V, what do you say? W. And then what do I say? What do I say after W? After you say W, I should say U. And you gotta say then T. Now, you guys out there, instead of us doing it, You try.
5,
Don't tell
6,
me.
7,
Don't
8.
tell-
Z, Y, X, W, V, U, T, S, R, Q. Abby's helping. She's helping.
Abby's helping. Abby does this with. We have a 3-year-old who, or no, a
5. He's 5.
Yeah, here you go. Okay, here you go.
All right, let's see.
All right. Okay, here you go, Braden. Here you go. You ready?
Braden.
Okay, Brooklyn. Sorry, Braden. Okay,
Alright,
let's
so
go.
we have Z, Y,
S.
W, V, U, T, S, R, Q, P, O, N, M, L, K, J, I,
H.
G, F, E.
Come on, y'all got this part.
D,
C,
E,
A. Woo!
That was sign language over there, by the way, which is fine motor. So, Brooklyn, thank you for your help.
Brooklyn!
Woo! Yeah, Brooklyn.
Go say hey to George on your way by. All right, and what we're seeing here, intergenerational. We believe in the power of intergenerational work too, and we believe in the power of friendship, and we believe in the power of change. So thank you guys for coming out tonight. I'll be around if you have any questions, you want to ask for some more things, or you're just hanging out. Amanda's going to share with you, we have t-shirts if you want to buy them in the back of the room that support Soltis work and
They look like
Creative
this.
Care Collaborative.
Sorry.
Amanda has one on. We have a few more prizes, I think. So we may have to come up with 1 or 2 more things. What's the name of the new organization?
Thanks for the roses.
Soldiers Place. Okay, there you go. What's the name of the big organization? Creative Care Collaborative.
Woo! Yeah, good
All right, who
job,
got that
guys.
one? Who said that out there? Katie
Doesn't
get
count.
credit. Katie works there.
Whoever says it fastest, go.
Go. What is it?
Ah!
There you go. Angel got it. Cool. All right. Thank you all for coming out. Thanks to Yonder. Thanks to Katie and Melissa for starting that Amanda and the team.
And Twilight Motel.
For being a place that we feel like this could actually become a community that's competent. Because that's what we believe can happen here. So thank you, everybody.
And thanks. All right.
Hi, I'm Teepa Snow, and you just found our YouTube channel and watched one of our videos. I'm the owner and founder of Positive Approach to Care. Thanks for watching, and if you liked, if you have a comment about, or you would, please share it with people you know. Oh, and if you haven't yet done it, consider subscribing. We'll let you know when the next new video comes out. And you might want to visit our website, www.teepasnow.com, where you'll find other resources as well. See you there.